Hello.
All right.
Are we going?
We are definitely recording, but be careful. Don't use that mic too soon because the sun will catch a glint off of it and they'll see you a mile away.
Oh.
Keep your microphone
Are
hidden.
you training me? Because,
Yeah.
oh, God. That turns me on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may get the skit we're doing. That's right. Today we're doing Sean's all-time favorite movie.
My favorite.
Leon the Professional.
I actually don't know what Sean thought of this movie. We have not discussed it at all before this.
We try not to discuss it.
But you know what, Sean? You could stay quiet this episode. I'm going to give Sean's review. You know what? They're teaching him how to kill.
What?
That's a bummer. I'm done.
That's the problem I have.
Yeah, that's Sean.
Just that.
Sean didn't like the violence of this
Yeah,
film.
it's too violent.
Yeah, just
Today
that.
we're doing Leon the Professional. This was my pick. 1994 film. I had always seen, well, like pictures, I guess. This is all I knew about this movie. The guy has cool sunglasses and a little beanie and like the look.
Yeah.
I knew he had this look.
Is this the image of them walking down the street holding a plant?
Yeah.
I've seen that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
She is. This is her first movie.
Yeah.
And she's an 11-year-old, 12-year-old girl hanging out with this hitman. That was my context going into Leon the Professional when I suggested it last week. Now I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty much exactly what I expected.
Yeah. I was going to say, for me, my only context for this movie was the copious amount of, in the late 90s, shots like that you were talking about, them carrying the groceries. I saw photos from this nonstop because in the late 90s, see, I was on the internet a long time ago. In the 90s, there were always rumors about the new Star Wars. And of course, I was always refreshing.
Right.
And it was, that girl that was in The Professional, that's going to be Luke's mom. And it's like, you're kidding. Like in my mind, I couldn't imagine they were doing that, and they were always screenshots online of this. What is this movie with the assassin? Like, what is this? And that's all I'd ever seen. And that Gary Oldman was in it. I knew that, but I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't know he was in it. I was so surprised and happy.
I didn't know he was
I was
in it either.
pleasantly surprised to see.
I had always seen GIFs of him freaking out. For some reason, that's always been around. But
the famous everyone.
Yeah, I've
gif
seen that.
Comes from this movie, we found out.
Yeah.
If you've never heard of Leon the Professional, I already mentioned it came out in 1994.
Yeah.
Stars Gary Oldman, Natalie Portman in her first film
her
role
film
ever,
debut.
her film debut. And the main character is played by Jean Reno.
Yeah.
And you may remember Jean Reno from, seeing pictures of this movie.
I was thinking, I don't. He's so familiar to me.
Yeah.
But is it because of that? I don't know.
I can tell you exactly what it is.
Oh, thank you.
Onimusha 3. You probably
fuck
played the
off.
shit out of
God
it.
damn it.
No, they liked my context for him is in Japan. I think they liked this movie so much they cast him as an actual. When they made the Onimusha series was like a samurai game by the Resident Evil team where it was like zombies and samurais. And one character is literally just him. They scanned him in because they liked him so much.
Jean Reno.
Only thing I've ever seen him in, other than this.
This movie was directed by Luc Besson, a French film director who also made the film The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
And in fact, here's some trivial information I came across that I found interesting. This movie was only made because The Fifth Element was delayed. Did you hear about this?
Oh no, I didn't
come
know.
across this?
No.
They were set up to film The Fifth Element. Everything was ready to go. And then Bruce Willis had another movie come up. And his schedule was unavailable. They had to delay The Fifth Element. And they just felt like, we were ready to film a movie. Like, everybody's ready to go. We have all the momentum going.
Yeah.
So just to keep the momentum going and to not disband the creative team, they whipped up this movie.
Wow.
Luc Besson wrote the script in 30 days, and then they shot this film for 90 days.
Okay.
So 4 months total. And generally, all these years later, I think critics generally consider this movie to be the superior film to The Fifth Element.
I've never seen that one either. I've never seen Fifth Element.
I've seen them both. They're different. The one's a sci-fi film. One is like a thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, Fifth Element is definitely a product of the late 90s. Some really cool stuff in it, but Yeah, I don't know.
This movie to me was a product of the early 90s. This movie was just like, we're going to be extreme in every possible way. So here you go.
Yeah, it's a very edgy film. I think it reminds me of like, every action movie in the 90s where it was like gritty New York and bullets flying. This movie was way more violent than I was expecting.
Yeah. There are parts that I thought surely they'll pull punches here, but
And
they did not.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, wow, they're really not even cutting right now.
The first scene when it's him doing a hit, it's like, oh, fuck. This is like, the action was cool. Like, off the bat, I was like, oh, I'm like, this is going to be sick. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it was raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else is there to say? They made this movie for like $16 million. It was a medium hit in the 90s. I'd always heard of this movie.
Yeah.
It made like
Same here.
19 million. So it made money, but not a ton.
Yeah. And then I think I have a number here that says 46 million. So maybe that's just
like
over
DVD
time.
sales.
Yeah.
and
So
stuff.
I mean, all movies make money over time.
But it really is like we can identify Luc Besson. If you're a patron,
which I'm sure he is.
There is definitely a relatable thing here. It's the classic thing where like we'll be working on a really complex video, and then in the meantime, while we're editing that, let's shoot this little dumb video, and that's the video that gets 1 billion views.
Yeah.
And the one you work so hard on, it gets some views. Luke, I know what you're talking about. He probably thought Fifth Element, that's the new Star Wars, and then The Professional is the classic. Though I do know people who love Fifth Element.
In case you guys were dying to know where I knew Jean Reno from, it was from Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
Oh,
So-
he was in that,
the suit.
Now-
He played Godzilla.
Yeah.
So
Did a
now
good job.
I know you're dying to know where I knew him from. Now you know.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when you're a creative person and something goes wrong, it forces you to think on your feet, and then you have to get really creative, and that's when you start coming up with these moments of genius, just solving problems. And I feel like maybe that's what happened here with The Professional, where they were like, shit, we had a big budget movie all ready to go. Well, we need to kill 4 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And they discovered Natalie Portman with this movie.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to spoil it. If you haven't seen it, we're going to talk all about it. So maybe pause this and go watch it and come back in 2 hours, and you'll be primed for this conversation because we're getting into it. So it opens up. I thought it was really artistically the way it opened up, kind of going through New York City in this steady shot.
Yeah.
And then it like cuts to a steady cam that goes into like an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a mafia guy like basically giving an order to his hitman, which is Leon the Professional.
Do you know how they did that first shot with the street scene, the street?
I heard they had to like memorize the traffic patterns.
Yeah, they had to just like know
Shit.
and figure it out with math, essentially. Like, okay, we can go right now at this moment, and it will be fine.
Yeah, there's lots of creative shots in this because I watched the behind the scenes. When it was over, I was like, yeah, whatever. I want to know more about this, and I watched behind the scenes documentaries. So they did stuff like that. But there's also shots in the movie where it's just at someone's feet and it's tracking along with them or whatever. There's so many shots where they were just like tying a string to the camera and dragging it across the ground really fast, and they did a lot of. It's just like what you're saying, Derek. It's like under pressure and time, they were just like. Yeah, whatever. Tie a string to it, and let's coming up with creative stuff.
We're
on
doing the Fifth Element in 2 weeks. Let's just fucking go. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. So there was lots of stuff that really feels that way. Yeah.
And I also thought, with all that being said, it was really artistic. That shot, and then the whole opening scene is kind of just close-ups of their eyes.
Yeah.
And Leon has these distinctive glasses, and you just see kind of the reflection of everything when he takes the picture of the mark, of the target, and all that stuff.
It was to a point though where I was prepared to be annoyed by it. I'm like, oh, you think that literally every shot you have is so important? Like, I don't know. For me, at the beginning of the first scene, I was like, okay, like
Sean, you were dealing with French film here. You may have.
I know.
You brought a knife to a gunfight
See,
on that one.
Yeah, that's definitely
telling
true.
you.
That's true because it was like not every shot needs to be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a portrait. I mean, I guess it's cool if you can do that, but I don't know.
That's what I was saying about that Kubrick guy. Trying to make
that's why
every
I didn't
shot.
like him.
Oh, you could frame this on a wall. Fuck off.
It's funny. I did, over time, I started to feel like, this is definitely a French film.
Yeah. For sure.
Which I appreciated because it's a gritty action movie that's super violent, but then sometimes it's just kind of frilly and
Has
very,
the art-
very French and European.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The plant thing was a French thing to me. I don't know why that is,
Yeah.
but that plant thing was like, this is something.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
We'll get to the plant thing. Don't worry.
Don't worry about the plant.
The character, the plant.
So I thought it was cool, the cinematography. And I feel like they kind of dropped it after the beginning. Like as it went on, it just became a more straightforward movie. The opening scene basically is just a hit for Leon to show the audience how good he is at what he does and why they call him the professional. And he's doing all this
professional stuff.
Shit hanging from the ceiling. And
I watched it and be like, he's Batman without the suit. Yeah. Really?
He's evil Batman.
Yeah.
Who kills people.
Yes. Because like everything he was doing, like he would disappear into the shadows and he was just gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is fucking Batman.
Where are you here?
It's funny. Now that you mention it, it is reminiscent of those Arkham Asylum games
where
you have to scare a group of guys by taking them out one by one, and the bad guys are suddenly like, where the fuck is he?
Yeah.
He's around here somewhere. Shooting at random noises.
He's in some like weird thing like in this balcony and he pulls the guy off and then now he's outside like by the window. It's like, what are you
It just occurred to me too. I hadn't made that connection. And it just occurred to me too. There's literally a part the guy's hanging upside down.
Yeah.
All throughout the movie he's hanging upside down.
I'm like, oh, yeah. He is Batman. That's Batman. It. He is Batman the Professional. That should have been the title.
And now that you mention it, there are a lot of shots where they're this director loves looking down the staircase.
Just
looking right down that
Love a good
spiral
staircase.
of That's in this movie like 20 times.
Yep.
And at the end of this hit, he eliminates all the bodyguards of this. I don't know who this target is. Some mafioso, drug dealer. Yeah. And
drug guy.
This guy, I think it's actually funny. The drug dealer calls the police.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's gotten that bad.
Excuse me. Somebody's killing all my bodyguards and infiltrating my villainous lair.
For some reason, I really like that detail, like because you never see that.
No,
where it's like you don't involve the police in this shit. That he was that much bent over in this situation that he was just like, I need to get the police.
It was like, I'd rather go to jail than deal with this.
That was such a, I don't know. I've never seen that act of submission in a movie like that before. So I thought that was like kind of bold.
In like a minute.
You know what, though? Only now does it occur to me that just may have been brilliant foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Well, in the moment, that's what it felt.
You're right.
It felt like, but I didn't consider that.
This movie might be smarter than I realized. I'm actually just figuring it out.
Yeah.
You might have had a professional writer.
So then Leon sneaks up like right at the last minute, puts a knife to his throat, and is like, hang up the phone with his French accent. That was my attempt at a French accent.
Pretty good.
And he kind of gets his message across. He has the guy call his boss. He delivers a message like, you need to leave town. And then Leon vanishes just like Batman. And that's our introduction to this guy. He's good at what he does. That's why they call him the professional. I'm going to move on because I feel like we've already said it. So he comes home and then we meet Natalie Portman, who is an 11-year-old girl who is just hanging out in the same apartment as Leon. She's basically his neighbor. And you could tell that she's a fucked up kid. She's smoking cigarettes. She's got a bruise on her face.
I had fun really watching the editing when she's got the cigarette. I was like really watching the edit because I was like, oh, okay, she puts it to her mouth, cut. And then, putting it away. It's like they never showed an inhale or whatever. It's like they were very delicate about where to cut
There was strict cigarette rules with her parents.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw that, but it was like something like, you couldn't ever see her inhaling or exhaling smoke.
Yeah.
There's only allowed 5 cigarette scenes, and she had to quit in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. She's got to quit during the course of the film. Yeah.
And they're strictly adhered to because in all of that, it happens exactly.
Yeah.
So, exactly like you're saying. It's always like,
cut and then turn around, whatever. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and this movie, what I like about this movie at this point is it's very much like shitty New York.
Yeah.
Like crime-infested New York.
Yeah,
everything's bad in New York City in this movie. There's no goodness to be found.
No.
So this little girl, she doesn't want to go home, and we can assume she has a crappy home life. We see that somebody who we can assume is her dad comes out of this apartment, and there's these 2 gangsters, essentially scary guys, and there's a drug deal that's gone bad. Like some cocaine is missing, and they keep asking the guy, like, where is it? He's like, I don't know. And I always hear that Gary Oldman plays psychos, but I don't think I've actually ever seen it in the flesh. But we meet Gary Oldman's character, and it's that classic psychopathic Gary Oldman, where the mafia guy's like, hey, if you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to have to ask this guy. And he can smell out lies. You know, he listens to music, and if we make him turn his music off, he's going to be very unhappy. Just saying weird shit like that.
Yeah.
And then Gary Oldman, you know, they proceed with this scene where he turns around and literally smells the guy.
Which like, apparently the actor did not know was coming.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very uncomfortable.
That's great.
And when I watched it, I was uncomfortable. Like, oh my God, he's like almost like making out with him. Like,
that was a good
he
device.
Was so up in his shit. And thinking of now, like, if you're the actor and you don't know that's coming, like, you are going to fucking feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, that is awesome.
When I was watching the behind the scenes stuff, they talked about, first of all, Gary Oldman, I don't think gets enough credit for, because you know when if you ask me like, okay, greatest actors, I never think to say Gary Oldman or whatever.
Well, that's because he did attempt to play a little person once in a movie.
maybe
and,
that maybe that got him off the list.
That bumped him down a couple notches.
But I really do appreciate that he has so many different characters. Like he is really not pegged to one thing. Like he really, I love that he has played so many different things. But they talked about in the behind the scenes, they were like, it was hard to edit him because he tried so many different things with each take that it was like, if we use that one though, we miss out on this. And they showed when he's talking about, what does he say? He says something about like Bach or something.
Mozart.
Like
Beethoven.
Beethoven. Was it Beethoven or Mozart?
I think it was Beethoven.
Both. And he says a little too light. You know, he says this music's a little too light, and like on one take, he goes up to the mantle over the fireplace, and he goes, a little too light. He starts to do a little like he's playing it on a piano, and then another take he doesn't do that, and he says it really like fiercely, and another one he just plays it a little like that, and they're all good. And they were like, we just had fun watching him in the editing room, just like, but it was hard to pick which take because he would do something different across 12 take, So anyway, it was just fun to watch that. Yeah, I think he's entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Gary, can you just do one over and over? Or is he good enough to do it the same twice? That's the real question.
That's what they were saying. They were like, they're all good takes, but they're all different.
I heard that scene was improvised, so that wasn't scripted. So he was kind of free to. He was making all that up on the spot.
Yeah.
So you're right. Gary Oldman is great. He's very intimidating in this movie. He basically tells this guy, "Okay, I believe you. You don't know what happened to the cocaine, but find out what happened to it by 12 tomorrow." And this is the setup for the end of the first act where. Leon, we now know Natalie Portman's character Matilda, and there's some trouble brewing at the house.
We know Gary Oldman.
What proceeds is what we call in film analysis the litmus test. The next scene determines, are you down for this movie or not? Because Gary Oldman returns the next day with a hit squad. And essentially just annihilates Natalie Portman's family. Luckily, she is out buying milk.
Right.
She sees Leon, and I don't remember. There's something like, "I like you. You want some milk? I'll go buy you some milk."
She knows he's always drinking it.
That's right. Right.
Yeah,
I'm going to the store. You want some milk? So she leaves, and while she's gone, this hit squad comes in, and we're talking like the mom is taking a bath. Boom.
Yeah.
Oh, kids in the house.
Yeah, I'm like, surely they'll cut this, but no, they didn't.
When
they
it
didn't.
was,
kid hiding under the bed. Well, he'll escape,
dude.
And this is one I didn't know what this movie was.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Every time we do a movie club movie, I'm always thinking like, so the other guys are watching this too, huh?
Yeah.
Wonder what they're going to say on the episode. And this is why I knew it was going to be Sean's favorite movie.
You knew.
Well, I was just impressed that they actually were just from the filmmaking side of it. Impressed they weren't cutting away or doing tricky shots with this stuff. When he goes into that bathroom and the mom's sitting in the bathtub, I'm like, okay, cool. How are they going to cut the? And it's all in one shot. Shotgun, boom,
and then water out the bath of the tub.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that was a fully functioning. There was no cut on that. Like that was impressive.
It was a very '90s moment.
That's what I thought too.
I felt like, this is movies from the '90s.
Yeah,
they don't do it like this anymore.
I was kind of amazed by that.
When she first, because they do a good job of like, you kind of hate her family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they all suck. Except for that little boy who she hugs.
Yeah.
And then like the second that they start to kill that mom, I think, well, I've never seen any little boy in any pictures of this movie. So that makes you think that this kid's fucked, but he's like so little. There's no way they're going to kill this cute little 4-year-old kid, right? Like they're not going to do it.
No, surely not.
They do it.
They do it. And it's a fucking, whatever. You don't see it, which I was appreciative, honestly.
Yeah, because at this point, they've already killed the mom, the sister.
I
think that's it so far.
And so I kind of was like, well, I wish they didn't kill that kid, but it's like at least they didn't like make it graphic and make me watch that.
Make it like shove it in your face.
Because they shoved everything else in my face.
Yeah.
And I was hoping they didn't do so.
They knew that was going to be the hardest twist of the dagger, so they left it.
Right. Yeah. So whatever. Thank you, I guess, for not making me watch that.
Thank you, Luke.
And then Gary Oldman comes in and has that scene that Rocco's talking about where he talks to the dad. He's been listening to classical music this whole time, and he's pretty much been doing the bloodbath himself. Yeah, so as the movie progresses beyond this scene, Natalie Portman comes back from the grocery store with milk, and she walks past the room and sees her family has been killed and just keeps walking down the hall. And she knocks on Leon's door, and she's crying to herself. She's like, please answer the door. I thought this was such an emotionally heavy scene.
Yes.
And it's really impressive that Natalie Portman at 11 years old can be such a great actor.
I've always thought Natalie Portman was a great actress, but like looking at this, like, no, you just like, I think you're born with that. Like,
she had it in her.
Yeah. If you're fucking 11 and 12 and you can pull this off, like you rule. Like she was great. And you do, like your heart's breaking for her. At the same time, you're fucking scared for her too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because sometimes I feel like kids are better actors than adults just because they don't know how to fake it. A kid is so just in their moment.
Right.
Just being a kid, you tell a kid, all right, in this scene, you just saw your family die. How would you act? They're like, this is how I would act.
Yeah.
And an adult would really like, okay, so did I like my family? Was I arguing with my family that day? How do I, kind of overanalyze it sometimes?
Well, apparently they sprayed mint oil in her eyes to make her cry.
Oh.
I didn't know that worked.
That's a good trick.
Did that once, and she said it hurt so bad that she never used it again, and she just could make herself cry after that. She figured it out because I don't want to go through that ever again.
Yeah.
Oh, they maced a child.
They basically maced a child.
Luc Besson is a great director. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So Leon has a great moment where he has to question what he does next. It's like in Alien when the face hugger is attached to the body and they're like, open up, we got to help this guy. And Ripley's like, no, it goes against protocol. You're breaking proto. I love a scene like that in any movie where it's like, that you shouldn't open the door. Like, I'm going to fuck my own life up here. But it's the first symbol. Just the moral dilemma. I love any good moral dilemma that comes down to open up the door or don't open up the door. That's great movie making.
I also love them when then you've seen the movie and a month later you're thinking, if they had just done that one thing, that whole movie. I think about that all the time with the original Star Wars. One of my favorite parts of that is, should we shoot the pod? There's nothing alive on it. Okay. You would have fucking saved the whole trilogy. You would have saved us all 3 movies worth.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then
I love stuff like
back
that.
To Star Wars, sorry, but like Family Guy had a joke about it where it's like, there's nothing. It's like, what, are you low on lasers? Like, go ahead. Like, who cares?
Just do it. Yeah. Shout out Family Guy.
Shout out Family Guy.
Seth MacFarlane.
Favorite movie, Leon the Professional. Favorite show, Family Guy.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was moral dilemma. Like, we are low on lasers, and if we waste one and that has nothing in it, like Darth Vader will force choke us
I guess
to death.
it is like, the moral part.
Then the whole movie is like, do you shoot the pod or not? He opens the door. Ladies and gentlemen, he opened the door.
Thank God.
He opened the door. Woo! Roll credits. You could have fucking ended it there, honestly.
Good night.
At that point, you're just extending the story. So Leon and Matilda pair up. Her family's dead. Pretty quickly, I actually thought one of my only complaints at this point in the movie was, oh, you're a hitman? Cool. It was just like revealed so quickly.
Yeah.
My family just died. Anyways, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
You're a hitman? That's badass.
And that was actually kind of one of my complaints with this movie was I actually felt like things could have been extended. Like, legitimately, when it was over, I was like, yeah, you almost kind of rushed through some, maybe a little bit. I don't always think that about movies.
But when she first walks in, the first thing she does is turns on the TV.
Yeah.
Which in my thought was like, oh, she's in shock. Like she's just like fucked up
a
here.
12-year-old might do that.
But that was the only time they didn't ever address that or go back to it. It was just like turn it off, and then it was what you're saying. And it's like I want to see. Her whole life just got turned upside down. Like what happens now? Like
and the fact that you mentioned earlier this is a French film, and I said it was a very French movie. I almost started picking up on symbolism in things, wondering because we watched the 400 Blows, and I just feel like symbolism is an overarching thing in French cinema, and she's always trying to watch Transformers, and it got to the point where it's like, I get it. This little girl's going to transform.
She's gonna be Megatron, or no, sorry,
Dinobot.
Yeah.
So to that, like she comes in and turns on Transformers for half a second, and I almost just feel like, this was a transformative moment, so she should put on Transformers. Turn that off. The movie moves quickly here, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of 90s movies are just 90 minutes when modern movies would be 2 hours, and it would just be an example of this. You could say more, but you're beating around the bush.
Yeah.
She's going to find out that he's a hitman, and she's going to be like, train me in your ways.
And then, it's that. And then her first night there, he, puts a gun to her head because he's like, I'm going to take care of this problem.
Yeah.
And then, so you see that for two. But again, this all happens within a minute of each other.
That's it. Yeah. He has another moral dilemma. Like, when she's asleep, I could just end this all right now. I think the things to consider are this movie was written in 30 days. And considering that, this is pretty badass.
Yeah.
You wrote this in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
This is pretty airtight I couldn't write this in a month.
For that. Yeah. It's pretty good.
And I guess when you're just facilitating a movie in 4 weeks, it's just, hey, let's just move from moral dilemma to moral dilemma just to keep it interesting. And I almost appreciate it for that. They don't have time to waste with making a deep film.
Yeah.
They just kind of want to make a good film.
It's true. Yeah. I never was bored watching this.
Yeah, I wasn't either. And there were moments where I was legitimately fascinated, like, what's going to happen next?
Right.
I do not know.
Right.
So let me try to recount, because the movie was interesting and the movie was fast paced, but kind of what is the story here? Leon is like, okay, I'll train you how to be a cleaner. He doesn't want to do it, but then, Natalie Portman's like, you don't think a girl could be a hitman? Check this out. And she grabs a gun and just starts shooting it into random, just out the window in New York City. And he's like, okay, I'll teach you. You've impressed me. Yeah. Rule number 1, don't ever do that. And he tells her there's rules. never attack women and children.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
Rule 2,
tell that to the people that annihilated Matilda's family.
Rule 2, don't shoot my neighbors. Just don't open fire on them for no reason.
That scene, I was thinking, so the cops aren't going to come, somebody's just shooting a gun out a window.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes where it's but then you see the cops later, and maybe that's why.
But also, it's New York City, and it's shitty New York City.
Yeah. Maybe that's all part of it.
There's a scene later where Leon's like, all right, I'll teach you the ways of being a hitman. First, you start with the rifle, because you keep your distance. The closer you get, the more professional you are. The last thing you'll learn is the knife. And he takes her to a rooftop, and they put together a rifle, and they basically just shoot a random person out for a jog in New York City. That happened to my dad.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
My dad grew up in New York City, and he said that he was walking down the street and was shot by a sniper. In the leg.
With a paintball or a
gun? A gun. My dad grew up in New York City, and this is sometime in the 70s. I think he was 19 or 20, walking down the street and just got shot in the leg. I remember as a kid, you're a kid and you ask your parents random stupid things. And I was like,
sure.
Dad, have you ever been shot with a gun? And he was like, yeah, I have. And then I remember just...
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I was like, really? What happened? And he was like, yeah, a sniper shot me. That was the first time I ever heard the word sniper. And I guess it was just a guy with a gun shooting out a window in New York City, just shooting at random people on the street.
Does he have a scar and stuff? Is he fucked up, or is he?
This was years ago. Yeah, I think he has a little scar. But that, I don't want to make light, because shootings, they are a heinous thing. But It's just to say, like, when I saw that scene in this movie, my reaction was not, oh, that's far-fetched. My reaction was like, yeah, I've heard of that happening in New York City.
They also did a good job of playing it like, is she really going to kill someone right here? Like, I wasn't sure, like, how far are they going with this?
Yeah,
like,
when Leon is training her to use the rifle, they shoot a random person out for a jog, but then it ends up being a paintball. And she's like, should we use real bullets now? And he's like, no, we're done for the day.
Also, I don't know who that guy was that was shot. It was funny that it was someone important. And
it was like a politician, right?
I guess.
It seemed that way.
It seemed to be an important person.
They didn't say who it was, but it was hilarious that he had like bodyguards with him and then like that happened.
Yeah.
Like,
and again, I just feel like this movie doesn't overthink it. They're like, all right, we need to train her to shoot somebody. We're going to take her to a park. We're going to shoot somebody. Might as well make it somebody important. All right, a politician gets out to have a jog. Okay.
You got like Bill Clinton vibes.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, like I feel like if you spent more time, they'd be like, so who was that politician?
Yeah.
But this movie's like, doesn't matter. Yeah. So they check into a hotel together. They leave the apartment and check into a hotel, and they're kind of posing as like a father-daughter team while they're doing this, and they're posing as a pair of musicians. Like she's training to go to Juilliard. And Leon keeps having meetings with his mafia boss, and he keeps basically saying stuff like, you know, I want some of my money. He's basically making arrangements to get some money for Matilda. And you really kind of have that classic mafia trope where like the hooks are sunk in too deep. Like this guy does not want to let Leon get out of the business, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys felt about this part of the movie or how you were enjoying it at this point.
It was such a weird line, and it was like the father-daughter thing was there, but then they kept making it like it was more than that, and it's like why do that? I don't get it, and like that's the one thing that to me was like ruined the movie, where it was like this wasn't necessary. It could just be a guy training this 12-year-old girl to be an assassin, and that's interesting on its own. I don't need to make it this level. Like, why are you sexualizing this 12-year-old?
There's a sexual aspect that keeps kind of invading it. And what's funny is, I meant to say this as we started, I got really confused on like, there's multiple cuts of this movie.
Right.
And so I'm assuming we all saw the same one. I think we did. There's a longer cut.
I didn't see that one.
And so I'm looking online and they're like, yeah, that's the intended director version of it. And then I'm reading other sites that are like, yeah, don't watch that version. The director's an idiot. Don't watch that version. It's like, oh, okay. Anyway, but I told you I watched the behind the scenes afterwards.
Yeah.
And that behind the scenes contained a lot of the scenes that were in that longer version. And reading about it too, it was that American audiences kept watching it and they were like, yo, get rid of so many of the, there were way more scenes of her trying to seduce him. And I mean, they're at dinner and she's like, I want you to kiss me. Like, kiss me now. No, I don't want to. No, do it. God. There's a scene where it's like,
what?
A girl's first sexual experience is important. It's da-da-da-da-da. And he's just like, what? No, like, what?
No.
I mean, these went on and on and on and on. And then there's a part, I'm gonna ruin the movie even more.
Matilda, I cannot. This is
Matilda,
not professional.
This is no good.
Matilda, this is unprofessional.
This is unprofessional. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me pause you before you ruin the movie. Okay. Let me give my take on it because I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. Couple of I'm always going for behind the scenes trivia and you know what's going on behind the scenes of the creation of this. So Jean Reno kind of went on record and saying he wanted to represent the character of Leon as a little bit mentally slow and very much emotionally repressed. To the fact where, you know, he never wanted you to feel like Leon was ever going to take advantage of Matilda. And to his credit, I feel like I did get that. I never felt like Leon was down for
I
any
never
of
felt like
this.
he was tempted or anything like that.
Never.
I agree with that.
So to this movie's credit and to Jean Reno's credit, I feel like he was a great actor in this movie. And all of that was happening. It was ew, but the way Leon responded, it was like a morality play, and it bordered on ruining the movie. And I haven't heard what you're about to say, but in the version I saw, it didn't ruin the movie for me.
I think, yeah.
Natalie Portman, it's like a coming of age story for this girl. She tells Leon, like, I think I'm falling in love for the first time. It just happens to be with this way older guy who's not interested, and he never reciprocates it.
Yeah.
It seems like he's going to reciprocate.
What I was like thinking the whole time is like, this 12-year-old has never really been loved, because you look at her fucking parents and they're terrible. Like,
and she doesn't know how to.
She doesn't know what she's feeling for Leon.
Yeah.
It's not she's in love with him. She just loves him, but she doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yes.
And so I just wish that was said.
And so she thinks. And so she thinks like, well, hey, I can be an adult here. That's what this is, right? I'm an adult.
Now
right?
you're gonna ruin it, but I'm gonna preemptively ruin it with my own tidbit of information.
Yeah.
Luc Besson wrote this movie and said he based it on his own life.
What?
Yeah, he said that this is based on his relationship with his wife, who he met when she was 11, and she apparently fell in love with him at the age of 15. And it was
How old was he?
32.
Oh my God. What?
And that was the inspiration. Hey, I didn't know any of this when I picked fucking Leon.
Yeah.
I found this out doing research.
What the fuck?
All I was going to say was, I think the amount of it that's in the movie, the movie that we watched,
short
borders on Ookie.
Yeah.
But I think there's reasoning behind it, like we were saying. Borders on it, though. But then seeing those deleted scenes was like, oh, director is just really enjoying this.
No.
So there's the kissing scene. There's the, like, my first sexual experience. I want it to be you. There's all that. And then they interview Natalie Portman. She came back to do the bonus features.
Oh, God.
So it was like, oh, cool.
She's like terrified.
And she's like, oh, yeah, my parents were so protective. They were iffy on the cigarette thing. And then, there are all these scenes that we didn't even shoot because they didn't want to, I think there was one, I was in the shower and, he accidentally walks in and he's like, oh, put a towel on. And I'm like, I don't care. I mean, dude, they're just listing 5 other parts that are like, why were they even going to shoot this? Like, and again, so I think what's in
kudos to Natalie Portman's parents.
Yeah, I'm going to go shout out Mr. and Mrs. Portman.
Could they not step in more?
Yeah, maybe a little more stepping in.
Do more steps.
So yeah, what's in the body of the actual movie that we watched. I think bordered. It felt a little weird, but I see the story reason. Okay.
Well,
but knowing that those other scenes exist made me go, no, I ain't in. No.
It to me
also, I don't know if I can watch this director's films anymore.
It was.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
this is fucking me up.
I don't know if I need all 5 elements.
I'm actively becoming not a fan.
I'm down for a few less elements. Maybe only 4 elements next time.
Oh no! All right, yeah.
I already said it, but you had a good movie.
Yeah, it didn't.
You had a good movie.
Yeah, it didn't need the excess.
Why did you do this?
Now I'm just thinking Luc Besson's like, I got 4 months to kill. I'm just gonna do my life, but it's cooler. What if I was like a hitman?
Yeah.
Oh, and then I'll just do the story of how I met my wife.
Like,
I didn't realize that about the
plot line
wife.
is fucking into it, because we should investigate those people.
No.
There's also, they interview the producer in the behind the scenes, and he's like, yes, a lot of Americans, they have a problem with what is happening in the movie.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking like, oh, good, they're going to have a dialogue about it.
Yeah. Americans.
And he's like, yes, but it's a film, and we have no problems. They have problems with it, but we don't. And then they just move on. I'm like, oh, thanks for the heart to heart on that one, Chief.
In 2018,
very French.
Natalie Portman at the Women's March, I believe, said that she was like, yeah, I was sexually exploited in this movie. And
she really said that?
Yeah, she did.
Wow.
And watching it, it's like, yeah,
you
fucking were. And I don't know why your parents were so upset about the cigarettes when there were way bigger problems than cigarettes happening in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel bad for laughing.
Well, you know,
shit.
Yeah. Hey, we laugh to cope, guys. We laugh to cope.
We laugh so that we don't cry on this show. That being said, let's continue on with the plot synopsis.
Yeah.
Well, legitimately, all that being said, that's in the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
And that is not really present in the film we watched.
That perception harmed the whole package to me, but what's in the shorter cut movie, I understand reasoning. It's still a little ooky.
It makes me sad to say it after the conversation we just had, but I liked the subplot of it was ooky at first, but as it went on and I saw that Leon was not going to pursue that, then I could kind of appreciate this girl being in love with this guy and it not being reciprocated. It makes it a little bit more romantic, the infatuation with something you can't have. Not that it was great, but I actually thought that in the final scene, and I'm going to jump ahead, they have a final scene together that's very emotional, and it's coming from two sides, and I thought it made that very interesting. And we'll get to that. We'll talk about that coming up. But basically, this freaky little girl's trying to seduce Leon. Leon ain't about it, and she gets pissed off, and she actually tells the hotel owner, yeah, we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
Boo! The hotel owner doesn't like that, and he kicks Leon out of the hotel.
The hotel owner is representative of all Americans, apparently, who watch this movie.
Yeah.
We put the hotel owner in there as a poo-poo for the American audience.
The most science fiction part of this movie is that the hotel owner doesn't like this because what's wrong with it? I actually thought the most unrealistic part of this movie was that the hotel owner just went, that's going on? Well, I'd prefer if you didn't stay here. Oh, you want to make any more phone calls? No.
Nah.
I just feel like a different hotel should probably deal with this. Try the Hampton Inn down the street. They'll probably take you.
They don't mind.
I ain't feeling it.
Get out of here. Leon, at this point in the movie, I'm going to jump to the end now. At this point in the movie, Leon kind of heads out of the apartment to do an assignment. We don't know what he's going to do. He's been having meetings with his mafia boss, trying to get some money for Matilda. She's kind of pissed off because Leon is not reciprocating the relationship that she wants to have, and he's not really training her in the way that she wants to be trained. And she basically goes rogue. And she goes back to her house, the scene of the crime, where there's some money stored, and she finds a ton of money. But while she's there, Gary Oldman returns, and we realize that he works for the police. At this point, it's kind of like he's working with the police. But what we come to find out is he is on the police force. And all of these people were, they're corrupt police officers. Yeah. Remember when we talked about that brilliant foreshadowing at the beginning of the movie?
I really hadn't even thought about that till now. That's great.
That's very clever.
It turns out that, the police officers are the bad guys in this film. Wow. And so she finds out where his office is, and she gets a bunch of guns, and she's going to go kill him at the police office. She goes to infiltrate it. So now we have this scene where Matilda's going to go perform a hit, and she tracks Gary Oldman down to a bathroom, but then he gets the jump on her. And it's a very scary Gary Oldman scene where it's basically, there's no way he's not killing Natalie Portman in this scene.
Right.
What'd you think?
I feel so weird about this movie because I really liked a lot of it, and then the parts I didn't like, I really didn't like.
Honestly, the whole conversation we just had kind of ruined the movie.
Yeah,
post viewing. I don't know if I want to keep going on about this movie.
Talking within the context of it,
but I was enjoying the movie while I was watching it.
This part was so suspenseful, and I liked how she was doing good. Like she got in with a gun, all these guns. Yeah. Like she was very creative in how she did it, and then he was, better than her. He got her.
Yeah. Right at that moment, right before Gary Oldman is about to kill her, this dude, basically played by Garrett Hunter, comes into the bathroom and says, it's this dreadlock dude who all right, I don't know if the character is on drugs or if the actor is on drugs. I looked up that the actor who played this guy his real name is Willie Oneblood.
What the fuck?
Whoa.
Willie Oneblood.
Wow.
And that's what they actually call him in the movie. Yo, Willie Oneblood. So Willie Oneblood shows up, and he's this dreadlock dude who's like, so somebody just killed our top henchman, bro. I love the way that this guy performed and acted. For anybody out there who's seen the movie True Romance, which is another Gary Oldman movie. It's a movie written. I never saw it. It's a movie written by Quentin Tarantino. It's directed.
I don't think I've ever seen True
Romance. Who directed it?
It's directed by Tony Scott.
Oh, I never knew that.
It's the movie that Quentin Tarantino broke into Hollywood with because he wrote this screenplay for True Romance, and with that money made his first movie, Reservoir Dogs.
That's right. I've not seen this movie, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, Gary Oldman plays the bad guy in True Romance, and he's basically just doing an impersonation of this guy, Willie Oneblood. Like, literally, he's just a bad guy with, like, blonde dreads. And,
yeah.
He's even said, like, yeah, I just took Willie Oneblood from this movie.
Wow.
And was in True Romance. Anyways, Leon is out there killing the guys who killed Matilda's family, and we find out that's where he's been this whole time. So instead of killing Matilda, they
want to get to him, right? No.
Yeah. What
it?
happens is Gary Oldman leaves to go find out like what's going on, and while Gary Oldman is gone, Leon comes into the police precinct and fights his way up to save Matilda. And fights his way out. It's another badass action scene. It kind of reminded me of The Matrix.
Yes,
definitely. A lot of this movie from this point on was giving me Matrix vibes.
Yeah, I guarantee you they were inspired in those shots by this. Like,
the cops are clad in like black SWAT gear. Yeah, and it's just a lot of like hallways.
In that, and especially in The Matrix when they go to that apartment and the agents take it over or whatever, and they have to fight.
It's almost the same sequence.
Yeah, it really kind of
is. Wood off the paneling,
and they got to go
and stuff.
And the escape is through the walls.
Yep,
they got to go down into the thing.
Fuck, that's a good.
The Matrix ripped this movie off.
Like,
admit it.
The machines watched The Professional and programmed The Matrix that way.
Oh,
yeah. So if you thought it was derivative, it's supposed to be that way, just to lull you into a complacency.
Joke's on you. So Leon and Matilda head back to their apartment, but then Gary Oldman follows them, and this is the climax of the movie. They basically abduct Matilda while she's outside of the apartment. And this is where Gary says, like, bring me everyone. They bring every cop in the city to take down Leon.
Yeah.
Which what I thought was cool was when they kidnap her before they go in, and then they ask her, like, is he in there alone? And she's like, nodding yes.
Yeah, it was a great scene.
It was super suspenseful.
Very.
And then, like, you don't know what she's going to do. She, like, played it so well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, she's just, like, nodding yes, but, like, she looks so scared. And it's like, what's the secret knock? And she does the wrong knock.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fuck, okay, she's warning them.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. Also, fun fact, the knock she did was Morse code for die.
Oh.
So now you know that.
Wow.
Keep that in
Natalie
mind.
Portman, great actress in Morse code and regular speech.
Remember that piece of trivia, because I have a piece of trivia that's the exact same piece of trivia in next week's episode.
That's why I brought this piece of trivia up, Derek.
Dang.
Yeah, it's true.
And Rocco has no clue what
He
we're
has no
planning
idea
over
what the
here.
fuck we're
This guy's
talking
fucking clueless.
Independence Day. Oh, did I give that away?
Oh, now they're going to skip to the end and find out it was Independence Day.
Sorry.
It's fine. We'll do it now. Independence Day.
Next week, we're watching Independence Day. Sean picked it. This episode's not over yet. How do you like it so far?
Sorry. Just kind of blurted that out. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, let's get back to Leon. So so basically there's this badass showdown where Leon is taking on like every cop in New York City. Fun piece of trivia. I don't know if you found this one. They brought in so many cops for that scene.
Actual cops?
No.
Oh.
Fake cops.
Okay.
But you remember the scene where he's like, get me everyone. And like this cop car shows up and this cop car shows up and then the SWAT team shows up. While they were filming that scene in New York City, an actual robbery took place on that street. And the robber was holding up a liquor store and ran out onto the active movie set and got freaked out and surrendered to a bunch of costumed extras.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
You love to hear it.
What did the extras do?
That's
we know?
what I'm wondering.
They went, give me the cash.
Okay, drop the weapon there. Follow me. I'm sure they had real cops on
Probably.
set.
Yeah.
Come talk to this guy.
That's
my partner, this guy.
Yeah. Agent Real Cop over here.
Damn.
You know what's so... I don't know. I don't want to go back and rehash kind of stuff we've already talked about. But what I will say, I'm just going through my notes because we're kind of getting to the end of the movie here, and I just want to make sure I all the stuff I thought was interesting was in there. One of the cops, the bad guys in this movie, the bald dude. There's like a bigger bald dude who's a henchman for Gary Oldman.
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy, after this movie, actually became a New York firefighter.
Oh, yeah. I did hear about this.
He courageously passed away in the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like that henchman, like I think he has darker skin. I don't know if he's black or Hispanic or what, but he's definitely the bald guy on the team.
Yeah. That's
the bigger
crazy.
dude. Yeah, that guy was a 9/11 firefighter.
Yeah.
And this movie took place before any of that happened.
Yeah, obviously.
But it's just, one of the things that is very morbid for me, but I am just fascinated by it, is when you see somebody in a film, you see them in that moment playing that character, but that real life person has a whole life outside of that movie. And sometimes you see a person in a movie and you think, whatever happened to that person,
Right.
And yeah, there's this huge historic event, and then you have this guy on film who participated in it.
I mean, I noticed several times when the World Trade Center is in the shot or in the movie. Yeah. Obviously, because it's New York back then.
It always makes you think of like, well, that's not there now.
Yeah, I always think that, and it's weird that like that guy died in that. Wow, that's heavy.
It's extremely sad. Yeah, but it also is just extremely curious that this guy is there on camera, knowing what his fate would be.
It's weird that they show it in the movie though, foreshadowing.
Well, foreshadowing a movie we're gonna watch later, probably.
Maybe.
What is it? I don't know. I'm afraid to ask. Okay, so the scene I talked about, the emotional climax of this movie, is basically Leon and Natalie Portman, Matilda, they're pinned down in this apartment. There's so many cops coming in here. He takes an axe and he cuts a hole in the wall where she can escape down, and she tells him, like, you're not big enough to come with me. I know this is goodbye. I thought this was really well written because it plays on your expectations. She's like, I know you're just telling me. He's like, oh, no, I could do this by myself. I could get out of here by myself. I can't do it with you. She's like, I know you're just telling me that so that I feel good to leave. And she tells him again, like, I love you. I want you to come with me. And he basically has an emotional moment with her too. It gave me chills. Jean Reno is such a great actor. He tells her, like, I'm not just telling you this so that you go. Like, I want to live. You make me want to live. I want to be a plant. I want to have roots. And he tells her, I love you. But I really liked that he had been portraying that character as an emotionally repressed person. I felt like this is the only time this guy's ever said, I love you in his entire life.
Right. And again, he played it in a way where when he said, I love you, I don't think he was in love with her. I think he does love her.
Yeah. So in a fatherly way, in a protective way.
It so easily could have come off the other way, and he played it so well that it didn't for me.
That's one thing, strength of this movie. Like you were saying earlier, is it's never unclear on his end.
Like when she says, I love you, I think it's because she's in love with him. Yeah. Him was not the same way, and I got both of those. So
and that's what I meant when I said earlier the emotional climax was coming at it from two ways. Like for her, maybe it was a romantic thing, maybe it was a dysfunctional, like this kid doesn't know what the fuck's going on. But for him, it was really like, you were like a daughter to me. And when he says, I love you, she drops down the hole and he turns around and he like screams, and I just felt like this guy is feeling emotions for the first time in his life.
Right.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me chills.
Yeah.
Also, he almost got out. I thought he was going to do it, honestly.
Yeah, he almost got out. They'd blow up his building and they come and they find a SWAT team member who is still alive and they start carrying him out. But pretty much immediately you realize, like, dude, this is Leon. He's sneaking out.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, he put a costume on. I thought that was great.
That was great.
I thought that was a great little scene.
At the final showdown, it's very sad. Gary Oldman, Leon sneaks away. He's going to get away, but Gary Oldman tracks him down. He does shoot him. They have this final confrontation. But then Leon gets the last laugh because he shows him, he does the old grenade pin trick.
Which I thought was great. And because when he handed the thing, I'm like, what is this going to be? Part of the plant? I don't know what the fuck this is. And then I'm like, what is that? I was with Gary Oldman, like, what the fuck did you just hand me?
Yeah, he tells her, like, this is for Matilda. And he gives her a little, like, gives Gary Oldman a little piece of metal.
Yeah.
That was one thing I actually did predict because I've seen that aped so many times now where someone hands someone and it's the pin. Oh shit. And they blow up. They've taken that from this 100 times.
Okay.
So that was one thing I did, but that didn't make it any less great. It was great.
Apparently there is a different ending. I don't know if this was filmed or scripted at some point where it is Matilda who does the grenade trick.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I was doing research of this and the director's like, yeah, it didn't really work. I don't know if people buy that she like is transformed into this like crazy killer, but I'm just saying like how's that written? Like Leon dies, but Gary Oldman shoots Matilda, and then she does the. I don't know, but in some
Why
strange,
would she have grenades?
Yeah, in some alternate dimension, she's the one sitting under that vest of grenades.
All right,
in some version of the script. So Gary Oldman is taken out in the sacrificial. Well, it's not really a sacrifice because Leon is going to die anyways at that point. But he takes Gary Oldman out, and the movie ends with, I guess the mafia guy kind of lives up to his word. And he tells Matilda, hey, Leon told me to take care of you, give you money. He's also kind of sleazy about it. Right. And he's like, well, you're going to have to come to me every once in a while to get it. But Matilda goes off and she goes to live in a girl's home. And she like takes Leon's plant and she plants it. And so we can assume like, okay, she's going to have a happy life at the end of the day.
In a spot where that plant's not going to make it, guys. I hate to break it to you, but that gardener, the landscaper is going to take that thing out in 2 seconds.
Well, she's 12. She doesn't know any better.
But when I saw that, I was like, that was a poor spot, Matilda.
Well, you know who I feel sorry for? That fucking landscaper. Because Matilda
is going to be pissed.
Yeah, Leon Part 2, Matilda's Revenge.
Well, apparently, I don't know if you read this, the director wrote a sequel to this starring Natalie Portman as an adult, and they wanted to film it like now, later. But then he moved movie studios, and the other studio owned that.
Oh no!
And so they just made it into something else that we didn't see. Like,
damn.
But they like basically took that script that he wrote for this, and then just
damn.
But it was gonna be Natalie Portman again, which would
that's how we got
be
red.
Crazy if all of a sudden she's Matilda again. That's crazy.
It's so funny because in that behind the scenes doc, she's on there saying, and this is I think she had just done like Revenge of the Sith or something. And she's like, "Oh yeah, if they ever reach out about it, anything this director does, I'm in completely." It's so funny. And then skip ahead another couple more decades. She's like, "Yo, no,
I thought about that."
Yeah, needed a little more retrospect on that.
Maybe. Yeah.
So let's give this movie some popcorn shakes. I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna give it a solid 3 out of 5 popcorn shakes. Don't read the backstory on the director, and you're going to enjoy this movie a lot more.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you just heard us give it to you.
Yeah. Ignore. No, don't ignore.
I know. I totally see why this movie was like a cult classic in the 90s. Hey, The Matrix probably ripped it off, so that makes it influential.
Yeah.
It's very stylish. It's pretty cool. It's kind of artistic in a French way that may border on making Americans feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely felt uncomfortable. I felt like there were, as I said, 2 movies. One movie I liked a lot. One movie I was so fucking mad at. So for me, I'm gonna give it 2. I probably would give it if they took out that part and that subplot, I'd probably give it a 4. So that other part gives it 0, so we'll balance it out and get a 2.
Yeah.
I think honestly, this movie really depends on your sensibilities.
Yeah.
It's hyper violent. That's going to turn some people off. There's ooky, burgeoning sexual stuff from teenagers. That's going to turn people off.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is to me it was so unnecessary. And that's the part where I think really bothered me, where it's like, you didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
You didn't have to, but you wanted to because, looking at his backstory, because you're into that. And that's fucking weird.
But also, I hate to give the benefit of the doubt to a director, but just to say that a lot of people worked on this movie, the movie is interesting. And if they're just setting out to make something that is suspenseful and is constantly making you feel like what's about to happen, what's going on, that is this movie constantly.
Yeah.
And on that level, like, the movie works. Yeah. I'm on the fence on it because I feel like the subject matter might turn you off. But if it doesn't turn you off, I think that
if you can tune that stuff out,
I feel like you'll appreciate this movie a lot more, So
I give it a 3. I would have maybe ranked it higher, but I just for me it was like the killing the vibes kind of, it was like there were great ingredients in this, but then you threw some moldy cheese in too. So like, all right, some of it was edible. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Europeans are fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
This movie, they shoot a 4-year-old in this movie.
But you got to understand something is that we have a problem with it, but they do not have a problem, and so thank you.
Good. Thank you for that.
Great.
Right. Well, if you thought this movie was bad, wait till you see the heinous film we're watching next week.
If you're paying attention earlier, you may have caught the hint we've dropped.
If you're French, if you're in France, guess what? Next week, we're cutting you out of the equation. We're going all American, baby.
It is my pick.
Well, actually, it was a German director.
Oh, no. What?
But the Germans are famously wholesome.
And love America.
Compared to France and love America. Yes. And they put it on display in this movie that was Sean's pick.
Independence Day, which, I don't know when you're watching this podcast, but it's kind of close to that. So let's check it out.
Why did you pick Independence Day? You want to tell people?
I do, because it was July 3rd, and I thought, I'm going to show my kids Independence Day. And I'm like, I got to pick a movie from Movie Club. I have the perfect pick.
Synergy.
Yeah. But wait, I watched Independence Day Resurgence. Is that the one we're doing?
Oh, my God.
No, that's the better one. And we, everyone already kind of loves that, so there's not much to discuss there. We want to go to the prequel. Which is kind of the controversial, they're saying Happy Independence Day. That's kind of controversial, because, America.
You can't say that anymore.
Yeah, you can't. We lost the war on 4th of July.
I have at Starbucks, I give them.
You know what? I saw Independence Day in theaters.
Me too.
I never did.
You didn't?
No, I missed out on that.
I'm just going to say this. If you haven't seen Independence Day, watch it.
Yeah.
And come back for next week's episode.
Definitely.
Just this one, watch. It's been around for 20 years. You should have seen it by now. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Most of these you could skip, 400 blows or whatever, pass on
yawn.
that. But Independence Day, you better show up.
So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time
when we celebrate our Independence Day.